I heard a lot about Norfolk Southern making promises to this community that it didn't keep. And you can be damn sure that over the next 6 months, you're going to hear a lot from the Vice President of the United States and the entire administration. If Norfolk Southern doesn't keep these promises, we are going to talk about it and we are going to fight for it.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.
The first and most important and concrete promise is that we're going to be transparent as the cleanup proceeds. Now, I remember talking to the Biden administration when I was a junior United States Senator, and I would say, well, when is the cleanup going to be done? And they'd give me a date. And then I'd call a couple of weeks after that date, and I'd say, well, is the cleanup done? And they'd say, no, it's going to take another few months. And so I'd call a few months later. Is the cleanup done? We're going to be honest and open with the people of East Palestine about this cleanup as it proceeds apace. I'm not saying everything's going to go perfect because it never does, but we will always be honest and transparent with the people here. I think the second thing that we need to do, and we certainly commit to doing, is when you talk to people here on the ground, they know that this disaster left a mark on this community. They know also that to rebuild, you're going to have a government that's in it for the long haul, that's doing the long-term well testing, the long-term water testing, the long-term air testing, the long-term health testing, and that's something that we're going to fight to make sure that we do over the next few years of this administration, because again, to rebuild this community, and I think it's a beautiful place. It's got great workers, it's got incredible natural landscape, it's got great people, but people have to be confident that they can invest in a business here, that they can build a business here, that they can raise a family here. That's going to take the long-term commitment, I think, of the Environmental Protection Agency, but of the whole administration, and that's certainly something that people here should expect, and they'll have. A lot of people in East Palestine have dealt with unspeakable tragedy, and then economic calamity on top of that. I've talked to a lot of local businesses just here today who have lost customers, who feel like the bottom line is a lot worse than it was before this disaster happened, and that's local retailers, that's oil and gas businesses. But I guess what I'd ask them is don't give up on this community, because we're not going to give up on this community. And it's not always going to be easy, and I'm not going to be able to take away the 2 years of economic pain that have been caused by this train disaster, but you do now have a government that cares about you, that's going to work on these problems, and isn't going to snap its fingers and fix everything, because that's not how any of this works, but is going to fight every single day to make sure you get the infrastructure, the redevelopment aid, and certainly the health and environmental aid that you need to get back on your feet. I really do believe that if we work this the right way, that the federal government, the state government, the EPA administrator, and the people on the ground are willing to work for this community, then we're going to do better by East Palestine than we have over the last couple of years. That's certainly my commitment to this community. If you go back to the original promises that Norfolk Southern made, right? One, there was a big settlement for all the people who were personally injured from the disaster. I'm not talking about the environmental problems. I'm talking about those who were directly injured, like some of the chief's firefighters who sacrificed and need to be compensated for it. It turns out that a lot of those compensation promises have not been met, even though they've been built into court orders. That is unacceptable. We're going to talk to Norfolk Southern about it. Another Norfolk Southern promise is we talked about building a training facility in East Palestine that would train firefighters from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. But also, and the governor made this point to me privately, unfortunately, the firefighters behind me know more about how to deal with a railway disaster than almost any firefighting corps in the entire country. Let's turn that into knowledge that we can spread across this tri-state area and actually make better firefighters, or at least more well-trained firefighters, out of that process. Well, Norfolk Southern promised they were going to provide the money to build that training facility, and every single person to a man has told me that money has not come. Well, that's unacceptable too. So I think that a lot of this comes down to making sure the promises of Norfolk Southern actually turn from promises into reality, and that's something we're going to work on and certainly take back to Washington. I really do believe that a critical piece of rebuilding East Palestine is giving people confidence that they can raise a family in health and safety here in this community. Now, I believe that's true, but the only way that other people are going to believe that's true is if folks like Lee Zeldin at the EPA and the broader administration take those health and safety concerns seriously. I promise the people of East Palestine we are taking those concerns seriously, and we will do so for the remainder of President Trump's administration. God bless you guys. Thank you for being here.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.